My name's Andrew Miller, for those people who don't know me. I'm the Flinders branch president. Also in attendance is numerous branch committee members. They're out there with you. Our industrial officer, Annie Becker, is here, who will help answer some of your questions very shortly. We also have the Adelaide industrial officer here as well, Cheryl. We have Ron Slee, the division secretary. And of course, behind the scenes, making most of this possible is Juliet Fuller, our branch organiser. So there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes already to get a coordinated campaign going in response to the academic restructure. Firstly, a big welcome to members and to non-members who are in attendance today and coming at such short notice. I will start with a quick acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we meet is of significance to the Kaurna people's living culture and has a unique role in the life of this region. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. Now, for the first few minutes, I'm just going to start to set a bit of context before we get into some discussion about what's going on. So if you bear with me, it will all kind of coalesce in about 5 minutes' time before we start to go into Q&A. So I'm just going to sort of paint a bit of a picture. So firstly, our hearts go out to staff targeted in the first change proposal in CNHS, and we know there are more change proposals coming. So firstly, our hearts going out to those people who are suffering. This is a dire portent to all staff, as the next wave of change proposals quickly follow. And we know there'll be a spate of them, so we're all in the firing line. We do need to stick together and look after each other through this distressing time. And I know everyone is already getting around each other to be supportive. The NTEU will be working tirelessly with you to fight back. Rest assured, we've already started campaigning. There are already member initiatives being planned as we speak. We also will need your ongoing feedback through this whole process, not only to us, but to management. I think we all have to fiercely contest the change proposals as they come, en masse. Please join the union if you're not already a member. Obviously, the more members we have, the stronger we are to battle things both collectively and individually. There are two kind of roles that the union will play in the weeks and months ahead. There will be individual cases of people coming to us seeking industrial advice and support. That is largely hidden to mainstream members. This is the day-to-day work the union does, and all of us may require that personalised assistance. But of course we also do that collective work industrially on behalf of staff as well. So all of this is really important work. So we need more people to join if you haven't already. Usually, people have to pay back fees to join a union, particularly if they join in a time of crisis. At the moment there is an amnesty going on because, of course, we want as many staff to get on board as possible. So there is an amnesty if people join promptly. Okay, the agenda today. Before we get to the academic restructure Q&A, I'm just going to go through a few of the related and interrelated and intersecting kind of themes running through all of this. You can see right there. It's important to remember that the restructure started in 2016, possibly 2015, when all of the change proposals started with turning faculties into colleges, teaching specialist roles were introduced and so on. It isn't something that just started this week. We saw job freezes, early retirement schemes, I think 2 of them, job losses, the PSP rollout, and of course the redundancies from the PSP, all dating back. Morale plummeted and hasn't recovered. Senior management have constructed a misleading narrative that the union demanded the academic restructure. We did not, and I'm pretty sure staff around this university are completely on the ball on that fact. We never asked for a restructure. It was something that was put in place over several years, culminating in where we find ourselves today. Through that time, workload increases for both professional and academic staff have followed the PSP. Professional staff have been put in a very difficult position through the transition of the PSP. Suddenly, many people found themselves in new roles, there were massive gaps in capacity all over the place. It's not the fault of professional staff. Academic staff have been forced to take on more administrative jobs because there's simply no one else to do it. So equally, professional and academic staff have been asked to do more invisible or hidden labour. There's also been massive losses of institutional knowledge and wisdom through the PSP, as a lot of people that had a lot of institutional knowledge were pushed aside. No doubt the same thing will happen with the academic restructure. The question comes then, what is the cost of this mad pursuit for a top 1% ranking on Flinders' character, culture, reputation, and everything? Is the cost worth it for the people and culture of this university? Many of us still remember when Flinders used to pride itself on being a socially just and socially responsible university. It appears that some of the original values of the founding of Flinders University are being pushed out the door in this complete kind of corporate model that they're adopting. Also, where are the Your Voice survey results? We know the university got quite a shock, no doubt, by those results and probably don't ever want to release them. We've had assurances from senior management and the VC himself that they would be released. They will take out the comments which could be used to identify people, but they said that they would hand them over, and yet they haven't yet. So we're going to keep asking for those because we think that they will reflect very poorly on the university's capacity so far to manage change and to keep staff morale up. They failed. So there's also issues of transparency and accountability as a public university here for the public good. These restructures are happening to staff, not with staff. And as you all know, consultation appears to be more a process of notification rather than real critical engagement, which is diabolical in a place of higher learning. Staff rightly feel disempowered and ignored, and a lot of this ties in with the idea of the fall of the faculty, the loss of power from the faculty being centralised, and of course staff losing capacity and agency over their own labour. We haven't seen yet any evidence these restructures will increase productivity or morale. In fact, it seems to be having the reverse result. Now, of course, universities usually try to run on the basis of evidence, and we're not seeing much evidence to support these claims. Efficiencies too. How has the PSP increased efficiencies? How will the academic restructure improve efficiencies? At the moment, it seems to be going the opposite direction. So far, the PSP has led to confusion and massive holes in capacity and knowledge, as I think you've all seen, and all staff have suffered through this. The proposed academic restructure will lead to further chaos, despair and loss of knowledge and efficiencies. All this damage will take years for the next VC, because one day there will be a new VC. Many staff report to me that Colin Sterling is already applying for new jobs. So one day, council and a new VC will have to pick up the pieces and try to rebuild the proud culture that Flinders has always had. Okay. And hopefully there's enough of us still here at that time that have knowledge and memories of what Flinders used to be like to be able to rebuild. The very heart and soul of Flinders is at stake. Research benchmarks. Benchmarks are part of the weaponry of the academic restructure. Senior management have admitted to us that by their modelling at this stage, about 50% of staff, possibly higher, would fail to meet benchmarks. 50% plus. And I believe that this is all about putting maximum pressure and distress on the staff, actually willfully creating a culture of fear, a punitive culture. Yep. It would seem to me that all research tells you that if you want a productive, engaged and happy workforce, you do the opposite of what Flinders is doing, and all the research would tell you that. The NTEU has taken action and will continue to take action and demand management actually consult staff as per the EA with regard to research benchmarks. Otherwise, we will lodge a dispute with the Fair Work Commission and have it out for a commission. EB intersections. Much of senior management's plans hinge on EB negotiations and the new enterprise agreement. We have absolutely told management to stop implementing the proposed new workloads and benchmarks. Many of you on the ground are getting documents and so forth saying that these things are set in stone. It's simply not true. We pointed out to them in bargaining the other day that that is unbelievably rude to staff. While staff are negotiating with the university for a new enterprise agreement, it is absolutely inappropriate and in bad faith to be implementing things that are not yet agreed. Absolutely bad faith. But I think that just goes to show the sort of disregard the university and senior management actually has for staff, which have to be almost, with students, the biggest stakeholders of this university. Obviously, academic workloads are a sticking point in enterprise bargaining negotiations. We've been holding the line on the fact that staff deserve and expect to have agency in how workload formulas are rolled out and the numbers that those calculations come up with, and that there should be a real correlation between the work done and the points. You can't hide work, and you can't misrepresent work. The second one, of course, is research benchmarks. We've, of course, taken to management now some very clear expectations about research benchmarks that should enable all staff to have avenues to success. Rather than trying to delimit who can succeed by putting and, we want it to clearly be or, so that all people can be valued for the work they do. We're certainly not trying to hide people who don't perform in the research space, but there should be multiple pathways to success. And of course, we'll hold the line on this. Teaching specialists. The NTEU is not opposed to a properly constructed teaching specialist scheme. You might remember some while ago the education focus scheme was one that enabled staff to willingly, voluntarily transition into education focused positions. Teaching specialist positions do not allow staff to transition across. That's a big difference. Positions are filled and staff are expected to apply to fill those positions. So that's a big change from the education focus. Now the university seems to have this idea that the external market is where all the gold is. And we've maintained, and in fact the Commissioner in the Fair Work Commission last year suggested actually there's already the talent here. You don't need to go out there, the talent already exists here. So this will be used to construct redundancies, this whole spill and fill agenda. And that's why there's sham redundancies. And no doubt many of those positions will be backfilled at lower classifications so the university can save money. Worse, teaching specialist profiles demand a PhD qualification, whereas balanced roles require PhD or equivalent. This is setting up a deliberate barrier to many staff winning back their jobs. People who've been in those roles for years and sometimes decades. The VC attempted the same spill and fill strategy in 2013 and was resisted. It did still cost them something in the order of 150 jobs, but they were looking even broader than that. So the NTEU there actually did some fine work to kind of cauterise the wound. But it's still massive job losses, nonetheless. So let's be clear. Academic staff are already teaching specialists in lieu of the expert teaching they've done for years, and as per 40% of their existing workload for most staff. It is ridiculous to assert that staff are no longer expert enough to teach the same topics that they, in many cases, designed and have taught for years. We will fight this, and of course your feedback going throughout this will assist us. But again, I say, we also need to give a lot of feedback to the consultation process to just really turn the blowtorch back on the university. Okay, now on to the industrial implications. I'm going to go through now the questions that we've publicised, and what I'm proposing is we'll go through it for the benefit of people who haven't seen it, but that will be the point. If you've got follow-up questions on the questions as we go through, there's about 10 of them that we've been going over it, and I'll have Annie assist in responding to these. But that way we should be able to go into some detail into each individual question. So the first question that we put on our website was, can the university re-profile its academic workforce to a new blend of teaching specialists, teaching research, aka fellows, and research specialist positions? The answer is yes, as long as there is compliance with the relevant terms of the Enterprise Agreement and the Fair Work Act.